Hey, welcome back to Computer Programming Basics. In this video, we're looking at the concept of functions. But before going into the computer programming side of it, I want you to look at an analogy with me from my favorite game, basketball. In basketball, there's the concept of a play. And pay attention to some of the words I'm going to be emphasizing as we look at a play. A play can be defined as a series of instructions for the players to execute to accomplish a specific task, namely to make a basket. If a play has been defined before, that is taught to the team, the coach can just call out that play, and then instead of having to say exactly what instructions each player should do, these players will just run that play. They will just follow that sequence of instructions that they have already been taught before. Some plays are a little more complicated than others. And so what they're able to do is make them in a generic way, make them more like a template. Because they have the play that's very similar, but different instances of the play can be run with a different player taking the shot at the end of the play. In this case, when the play is called, they need to give a parameter as to who on the team will be taking the shot. Finally, what is the point of a play? Why do teams define plays and execute plays? Well, the answer is pretty obvious. It's efficient. It's more effective. Instead of the coach having to say, run these instructions, do this, do that, every time they bring the ball down the court, having the organization of a play that's been defined before enables the coach to just call out one term, and that will execute a series of instructions. You probably already made the connection. In computer programming languages, we have an idea of a function. And a function can be defined as a series of instructions for a computer to execute to accomplish a specific task. Some functions are more complicated than others in that they accept parameters. And so when that series of instructions is executed, they will take the parameter and use that with the instructions. Finally, functions are a way of organizing our code more efficiently. We actually don't have to use functions. You could write an entire program that has all of the instructions over and over, but you'll notice in there, you'll probably have certain groups of instructions, maybe 4 or 5 instructions that you're repeating as you're going through your code. Well, that's where functions come in. Just like a play in basketball, we can take that 4 or 5 sets of instructions, define them as a function, and then everywhere we would have had those 4 or 5 lines, we'll just call that function. Well, you say sometimes my series of instructions are a little different. Well, that's where you can add a parameter. And so you can define your function using a parameter, and then in your code, you can call the function with the parameter. I hope it makes sense, but if not, it'll make a lot more sense when we get into the exercise. Because in the last exercise, you actually already used functions. The commands that you were using, for example, the first one in the previous exercise, the draw avatar command, is actually a function that I defined. You'll notice in the parentheses of that function, we have 2 values, an X value and a Y value. These values are the parameters that we're sending to the draw avatar function. The draw avatar function has a sequence of instructions that it executes, and it can put the avatar either here or there or here, depending on the parameters that you give to the function when it is called. In the next exercise, we'll be now taking some of the repeated instructions and grouping them in functions. Take a look on the screen. What we have here is the starter code for this exercise. You'll notice there's already one function, move avatar left. And notice it takes in a parameter, one parameter that's named spaces in the function. I probably should mention that you saw from the first exercise, as you see in this one, that there is also a run function. That's the function that we put all our code in. But you see, outside of that function, we're defining the move avatar left function, and the exercise is asking you to finish making these functions. Add a move avatar right function, add a move avatar up and a move avatar down function. Also, in addition to defining these functions, you want to go back in the code and look at the places where we were running commands to effectively move left or right or up or down, and replace those instructions with calls to your newly created functions. I think that will help you to grasp this concept of functions, and then I hope you'll come right back for the next video in Computer Programming Basics.